Good afternoon and welcome to KAUST Live. My name is Michelle Ponto and I'm from KAUST Communications team. And I'm here today with Michael Margineanu, who is one of our Ph.D. students at KAUST. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for the invitation.
And you're not a newbie at KAUST. You've been here 5 years already, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And your Ph.D. is in which area?
My Ph.D. is in bioscience, and to be more specific, in neurobiology. I work in the group of Professor Pierre Magistretti, and the overall aim of the group is to better understand energy metabolism in the brain, and in particular the coupling of energy metabolism and synaptic activity.
Okay. I understand one of the reasons that we brought you to the show here today is because you went to a very special meeting in June. You went to the 68th Lindau Nobel Laureate Meeting. Tell me a little bit about that. Who went with you and what did you guys do there?
Yes, it was a great meeting, expanded over 6 days. I was joined by 2 colleagues of mine from the bioscience division, Fahad and Fajr, and I would say that we were all nominated by the division and by the university leadership to attend this meeting. There are about 200 nominating institutions all over the world, and then there is also an application, let's say invitation to people who are not members of these nominating institutions. So the 3 of us were KAUST representatives, and the topic of the meeting was medicine and physiology, so it was linked to our areas of research. The meeting, I would say, is very, very crowded with presentations, discussion panels, the so-called open exchanges, which allow for very close interaction with the Nobel laureates. And at this meeting this year, there were around 40 Nobel laureates and about 600 young scientists from all over the world.
Okay, so not just students, it was a mix of different levels of young scientists?
That's correct. There were also some medical doctors and also some, I would say, more advanced researchers who have already graduated or who are doing currently a postdoc. But I would say that all the areas in which they're working were linked to the topic, and that was very nice.
So were you nervous meeting some of these scientists? Some of them are already famous, some of them are doing wonderful things, and some of them are on their way to be doing wonderful things. What was it like to meet these people?
Yes, so I would say that I was nervous. What helped is that previously I had a chance to meet James Watson here on campus at KAUST, who is also a very famous Nobel laureate, and therefore I would say that I had a bit of practice interacting with the Nobel laureate. However, having around 40 Nobel laureates at the same time together definitely makes you very nervous. And I think this nervousness goes away after you break the ice and you interact with the first laureate. And I had the chance to talk to Stefan for the first time. He's a Nobel laureate in chemistry, and he's the one who developed the imaging technique called STED. And it was very nice to get a chance to interact with him. Also considering that he was born and he was raised in a city nearby where I come from.
Oh, that's exciting.
So yeah, we could relate to let's say the same region of origin, and I was very happy to meet him there.
So what kind of questions did you ask him?
Well,
what kind of questions did he ask you?
Yeah. He was very curious about KAUST. He knew of KAUST, and I was very happy to find out that KAUST is so well known also among the laureates. And actually, he knew that we have a STED microscope here, and therefore we got to talk about this microscope, and I told him actually what I'm working on, and also promised to send some images at some point that I will be able to take with this microscope. So it was great to actually have a research-focused discussion, and also tell him a bit about our university, the environment here, and yeah, that was let's say the main topic.
Okay, so you've actually worked on the microscope here at KAUST that he...
I do
influence?
microscopy, and I got trained in using the stent microscope, and I'm yet to run some, let's say, proper experiments with stent microscope on campus, and it will be great chance to be able to experience it, let's say, as a researcher, as a student.
And you also met another laureate there.
Yeah, that's true. I had a very close interaction with Professor Ignarro.
Mm-hmm.
He's the recipient of the Nobel Prize in Medicine and Physiology for discovering the signaling mechanisms of nitric oxide, which is a very important signaling molecule in the body. And actually, I got the chance to go to lunch with him. We were 8 young scientists attending this lunch, and it was a great chance to get to know him, to ask questions, also to ask for some mentoring. As he was very keen on telling us about both academia and industry. He spent some time in industry before, so I was very grateful for meeting him there. And also I got a teaser for, let's say, studying nitric oxide in the brain, which is a very exciting field of research as well.
So in the meeting that you were in, it's not just presentations. This lunch sounds like a very special thing that you were able to go to.
Yes, so actually I would say the most exciting part of the meeting are these lunches with the laureates, the walks with the laureates, and also the networking dinners. I would say they give you a really good chance to get to know the laureates, not only from a scientific perspective based on their area of expertise, but also from, let's call it, more human perspective. And also what is very nice are the open exchanges, which are Q&A sessions with the laureates. So for 1 hour, the laureates are in front of a 40-50 people audience, and you get to ask one or several questions, and I think that's very valuable.
You mentioned that Professor Ignarro was open to mentoring. Were you surprised that he would have any time with everything that he has going on?
Yeah, true. You think when they'll get the time for this. I think for the 40 laureates who were there, mentoring is important, and it's a motivation for them to come to this meeting every year. They get excited and enthusiastic about meeting the young scientists. Of course, meeting each other as well, but I think they're most excited about meeting the young scientists. So Luis Ignarro, as well as other laureates, are very open to mentoring, to giving advice. He even shared his email address with some of the scientists there.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Did you, when you were there, because you're doing a specific PhD in a specific topic, were you able to talk to some laureates that gave you any advice or gave you any insight or inspiration on where you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm a biochemist by training, and also my particular project for my PhD, let's say, focuses more on the biochemical and molecular aspects. And I'm in particular looking at the signaling role of lactic acid in the brain, in the cortex region. And for me, it was a good chance to talk to some of the laureates who were, I would say, pioneers in discovering some of these signaling pathways, and also who focus on particular, let's say, families of proteins that I also encounter in my research. So, for example, I had the chance to talk to Professor Bob Lefkowitz, who won the Nobel Prize for his studies on a particular family of G protein couple receptors, the arrestins, and I got to encounter the arrestins also as part of my research, so I could ask more direct questions related to one of these proteins and how I could study it, and I got some advice from him. But I would say generally I was inspired also by the other young scientists who were there. There were many working in the field of neurobiology, that I could relate with, and that I would say I got some collaboration ideas with for the future. It was a very good exchange.
And you went with two other students from KAUST. Did you all go to the same lunches, or did you all go to different ones and could share experiences, or how did it work?
Yeah, I would say it's quite competitive to get, let's say, on the list for the lunches, because all these 600 young scientists will sign up almost all at once the platform opens. So the spaces get filled very quickly. And each of us also had different laureates they wanted to talk to. So my laureate launch, I was the only one from the KAUST group, but they also went to other lunches, and it was nice in a way because this way we could exchange our experiences, and I think this was an added benefit. And to the networking dinners, we got the chance to go together to some of them, and also to the opening ceremony, of course, which was very impressive.
We can bring your other colleagues here because they were busy today. What were some of the stories that you remember them telling you from the event?
Sure. I think Fajr experienced some really good time at these open exchanges, and also the master classes. So I should mention that apart from the open exchanges and the lectures, there are some master classes focused on particular topics, for example, personalized medicine, cancer immunotherapy, and she got to attend one of these master classes, and that gives you more in-depth, I would say, introduction to the subject, and also where it heads forward. So I got to learn about this. And then Fahad, he's working on a topic related to DNA repair. So he got to meet actually one of the Nobel laureates who is working on the same topic, and also to share his impressions about KAUST. And I felt that that was very, very nice.
Interesting. It's good that you all got to experience something a little bit different, but related to what your interests were in.
Yes, absolutely.
If you could go back again, like this was your first time, so you were probably thinking, oh, if only I knew that this is how it worked, I could have done a little bit more, I could have met somebody else. What would you do differently if you got to go back and do it again?
Well, it's a good question. Well, I would say that I benefited to the best of my ability and of the time I spent there. Well, I wish they will allow you to take part in more than a laureate launch, because actually it's restricted, you can only sign up for one. But apart from that, I think I managed to take advantage of my time there, of the interaction, and it was a very good experience for me.
Okay. What was some of your biggest takeaways?
Well, yeah, there were some big takeaways on both the research and, I would say, personal life level. I was really, really inspired by the passion the laureates had for the different areas of research. If you think that some of them worked for 30, 40 years on a very specific area, on a very specific project, and were really motivated and were able to carry that motivation for such a long period of time, that was truly inspiring. And I think sometimes we might take for granted, even in our research, the tools we have available at the moment to conduct research, hearing from the stories and, let's say, the capabilities, technical capabilities they had at the time when they were doing research, and what we have available now. I think you become very motivated, and you realize that you have amazing possibilities to make research more efficient, to be able to generate more data in quite a fast time. So again, it is inspiring. And I would say another big takeaway was what I got to discuss with the other young scientists, and basically seeing so much passion for research and for this particular topic all over the world. So this helped me to, let's say, enter a global context of research, and to realize that, yeah, each student, each scientist brings her own contribution, and in the end, all of this together can lead to something successful. So basically, I'm motivated in this way to conduct research that I can, put together with others in the future to have some valuable impact.
You met a kind of a wide variety of laureates there, from Stefan, who is more on the technical side with what he was nominated for, and with Professor Ignarro, which is completely different. Yeah. I'm assuming you obviously knew who these people were before, and you had seeked them out. Why did you seek out these two completely different kinds of scientists and the type of work that they do?
Well, for Stefan, I was interested to meet him because also of my interest in microscopy imaging, and acquiring recently this TED microscope here at KAUST. So I was very excited to talk to him about this, and also being born and raised in the same region as me, it was nice to relate to that. For Luis Ignarro, I would say that I was really impressed by the applications of his research and the implications. Nitric oxide signaling is a very, very important pathway, and I was really curious to learn also where it heads the research in this area. And then I saw that he spent also some time in industry, and I was curious about his perspective on that. Then I also got to talk to some other Nobel laureates, like Professor Michael Margineanu, who work on slightly different areas of research, circadian clocks. And this was also a great chance to get to know something that is quite recently discovered. The Nobel Prize was just last year, and I was very, very excited to talk about this, and also where it is heading. They are puzzled by important questions such as why do we need sleep from a biological perspective, and I think it's a very nice area of research to get to know more about.
Did you do a lot of research before you went on who would be there and the kind of topics and what you wanted to achieve? Yes.
It takes some research and some time that you need to spend learning about the program and also about the profiles of the different laureates. So I did spend some time reading the biographies and also trying to choose from this program what was most interesting and valuable to me. And I think that is important to be able to get the most out of such a meeting. It's important to read, to prepare well in advance. Yeah.
When you guys were selected at KAUST, how excited were you?
Well, I was very, very excited, and I'm very grateful again to my professor and to the university leadership for the nomination. And I think it's, well, for most of the people, once in a lifetime opportunity. Another chance to get invited is if you win a Nobel Prize, or maybe if you work very closely with a Nobel laureate. So thinking of it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I was very, very enthusiastic, and I really tried to prepare very well ahead of the meeting and get the best out of it. And I know Fahad and Fajr were very excited as well, and all of us were quite nervous in the beginning.
Do you think you got a lot out of it because you're almost done your PhD, you have just another year to go, so you kind of were focused on what kind of questions you had?
I would say that yes, I could benefit more being at this later stage in my PhD, because I had, I would say, a better in-depth understanding of different areas of research and also of my own area of research. Of course, I feel I'm still scratching the surface, but definitely I felt better prepared attending it now than I would have been 3 years ago, for example.
You mentioned some of the questions that you asked the laureates. They kind of mix between, and I can see that you were asking them because you're wondering what will be your next step. So you asked about industry, you asked about academia. What kind of advice did they give you, or did they give you any insight that kind of helped you?
Yeah, I would say that they really instilled into us a passion for continuing in academia and continuing as researchers. And they wanted to share with us a bit of that contagious passion for research. At the same time, there are many of these Nobel laureates who work with industry in collaboration on different projects. Some of them have also started their own companies. So they are open to, let's say, the application side of research and making an impact. And I think that from the discussions with most of them, I was really advised to continue research for more years and think about maybe the application side a bit later. So that was maybe a common advice that I received. And I think for some of them, when doing this very specialized basic research, they couldn't maybe even foresee some of the applications which came out of the discoveries they did. So even doing basic fundamental research, I believe with patience and determination, you can discover something that is of great impact. So I definitely look at it now from a different perspective.
Did you find that they inspired you? Because it can be a long time in the lab before you get results, and then these guys eventually got it.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, one of the laureates said that in science it's very important to cope with frustration, because maybe 90% of the time your experiments will not work as you wish or their highest potential. So only about 10% or less of the time you get to really obtain these results which make you happy and fulfilled. So it is true that you have to cope with it, and actually this made me feel a bit more comfortable also about let's say the patience it takes, and also about the failures that you must have in order to be able to succeed in the end.
Okay. One last question. What advice would you give to students who might be selected to go next year?
Well, first of all, they should be very confident and grateful coming from KAUST. Again, I was very positively impressed that the Nobel laureates knew so much about KAUST, and also the young scientists who attended from other universities, they knew about KAUST, and I think they should really go there with a high level of confidence coming from here. I would say that it will be important to prepare well in advance and really make a plan for the meeting and how they can get the most out of these days, because time flies in these 6 days. And ask questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Yeah, you might think that you have a Nobel laureate in front of you during an open exchange with 50 other young scientists all around you, and you might, I don't know, feel a bit shy or nervous. But I definitely recommend that they break the ice and they ask questions, because it helps them build also confidence when they will talk later to other laureates or to other, I would say, remarkable people. It's a very good experience, and also only by asking questions you can learn.
You've spoken like a true scientist, always asking questions.
Yeah, it's important. It's important, and indeed, it's not very easy in the beginning, but after you get over a few questions, you become more comfortable. And I think it's important to do this.
Well, you guys certainly look like you had a good time there, and all of you brought back a lot of insight to help you move on with your studies and your future careers.
Absolutely. I feel it greatly benefited me and also my colleagues, and also the previous KAUST students who attended this meeting in the previous years. I'm very grateful again, and I feel it's a once in a lifetime opportunity that if you have it will definitely make a big impact on you.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Michelle, for the invitation.
And thank you for joining us today. And tune in next Wednesday at 4 p.m. for another KAUST Live. And in the meantime, remember to comment, like, and share on all the KAUST social channels. And for everyone here at KAUST, thanks for watching.